Hello everybody, welcome back. If you're new to the group, each week Molly and I present a word, and that word is designed to be a guide for journaling, meditation, contemplation, and discussion. And this week's word is overzealous. And overzealous is a word that describes someone who is kind of aggressively enthusiastic about something. So if you get too excited, you have kind of too much enthusiasm, that's overzealous. And for the yellow personality type, which is the grouping that we're in now, overzealous definitely is something that happens when they're excited about something. They get really, really into their hobbies and their interests and are very overzealous about it. When discussing that word for the rest of the personality types, some personality types are prone to this kind of behavior. They definitely are overzealous about a lot of things or certain things. Other personalities have a more even keel type of a nature. So for the green personality, for my personality, I definitely have a tendency to become overzealous. And one story in particular for me that really kind of describes that part of who I am is when I first started studying the Enneagram, which is a 9 personality type system. When I first started studying that and I was going to conferences and conventions on the weekends and learning about the system, I realized how passionate I was becoming about the Enneagram, that I was really passionate about psychology. I had a degree in psychology already. I was raising 2 kids. I definitely had a lot of free time in the in-between space that happens with raising kids. And I spent a lot of that time reading about psychology, and I became very interested in the Enneagram. And those conferences were a place for me to really experience my passion in a classroom type setting or a convention or conference type setting. And it was very fulfilling for me. And I really felt like this was a system that could change people's lives. And as I studied it more and more, it definitely changed my life tremendously. And from that experience was born the IMR system and the 9 archetypes of the IMR system. And instead of numbers and symbols, we use color to describe the connections and the relationships between the 9 personality types. So in that experience that I was having at these conferences, I was volunteering a lot for the organizations that were holding these conferences. So I was kind of in the behind the scenes at these events. I was volunteering to help set up things or volunteering to run merchandising tables or doing things so that I could be at these conferences and really get deeply involved in the organization. And because of that, I was able to have access to the authors and the presenters and the leading scholars on the subject in the country. And through that, I was able to get time with those people and sit with those people and talk to them about it after the events were happening. So in the kind of after hours or the before time. So a very one-on-one experience happened for me with some of the leading authors of the Enneagram: Helen Palmer, David Daniels, Richard Rohr, some of the people that are very much the leading authors, and run institutions on the East Coast and the West Coast here in the United States. And in meeting those people, I became very excited about that experience, excited about that connection, excited about that interaction and engagement, excited about my place in that world, my understanding, and what I really thought that this could do for people. And that overzealousness, that kind of infatuation that existed there for me was overwhelming sometimes. So I was at a conference one year and I was out of state. I was in California and it was overnight. It was a week-long thing. So you actually stayed at the facility, you stayed at the retreat center and learned about it there. And I was talking to someone after one of the presenters were done. I was talking to a couple of people about my experience and my excitement and my enthusiasm. And I was definitely in that place of being overzealous. So a lot of energy, fast talking, just really excited about what I was talking about. And a woman who was talking to me, listening, stopped me and said, "Can I say something to you? I just really need to share something about my experience in talking to you right now. You're so excited, and there's so much energy behind what you're saying that it's having like a physiological response for me, that I'm getting like a stomach ache from the amount of energy that you're expressing right now about this topic." And instead of being insulted, I mean, that was something that other people that were around sort of had a look on their face like I should be insulted by this comment from this woman. Like, how dare her criticize my enthusiasm? I felt like it was a good learning moment for me, that when I'm excited about something, when I get in that overzealous, like hyperactive place, it can be very difficult to be around for people who are running on kind of a more, I guess it would be like a limited amount of enthusiasm either way, like people who liked that middle ground, who don't want to get too excited or don't get too excited or don't get too upset about things, that really spend a lot of their time in that kind of neutral space, that enthusiasm, that energy level can be a lot for them. And it wasn't really about me or how excited I was or how I was presenting myself, but it was really about her experience. And I was happy that she told me that when I get excited about something, when I'm in that overzealous place, that can be overwhelming. Some personalities really enjoy it. Some personalities need that kind of energy, need that kind of, or love that kind of engagement and love enthusiasm and that overzealous nature. Some personalities don't like that. Some personalities, it's very overwhelming and they don't really want to be around people like that, or they don't want to be in those experiences like that. So it's one of those things that taught me not only about her experience, but about my energy and where I go, and the importance of being able to manage that energy. That if I'm going to speak to a group of people, I need to understand that there are 9 different perspectives out there. Some of them like a little higher energy. Some of them like things to be a little more calm. And there's a really nice neutral ground in there. There's a really nice space in there where I can be excited about something. I can be informative. I can even communicate quickly about what I'm talking about. But my energy level, the amount that I'm radiating my excitement, can be overwhelming. And that energy level can be maintained. That energy level can be held within a little bit more. And another lesson that I learned in one of these conferences is that when that excitement is let out like that, when you're expressing yourself and kind of letting off all that steam of enthusiasm in this overzealous space, oftentimes you go home and you feel very deflated. You feel very kind of empty, and the fun of it is over, and you've lost some of what you have when it comes to your enthusiasm and excitement. So sometimes it is good to keep some of that for yourself, to keep some of that energy contained, to hold on to that for yourself. And that ability to do that can allow for that excitement and enthusiasm to be sustained through a project and through an experience and through your daily life and your practice. And you won't have that experience of like you've let it all out at this event, or you've let all that excitement and enthusiasm out, and now you go home and you're sort of empty from that, or you're drained from that experience. So I think it's also a good lesson in kind of maintaining that balance, so that the enthusiasm, the overzealousness doesn't get in the way of things, doesn't have that kind of manic depressive feel where you're really hyper focused on something or really excited about something, and then you have that other side when the ball drops and you have the lower points where maybe you're feeling not as excited or depressed or sad or lacking energy when it comes to certain things. So if you can just, not necessarily needing to be always even keel, because that's not how some personalities show up in the world, that's not how they live their lives, but just to understand that you can put just a little bit of a cap on that top side of your energy and enthusiasm and overzealousness, and that might help to maintain when it's not happening, when you're in other activities and you're not doing the thing that you love or the thing that you're excited about. It can help in some of those lower points when you might be feeling more bored or lonely or kind of emptied out from those experiences. So just to remember that in balance, it doesn't mean that you always have to be neutral. It doesn't mean that you're not passionate about things, you're not overzealous, you're not enthusiastic, but just to remember that when you express that much energy, that sometimes it leaves the other side, it leaves a deflated feeling. So just remembering that all of us can be working toward a more balanced experience, even if there's a lot of ebb and flow in that experience. Just a little bit of limiting on both on one side can lead to a little bit of a limiting on the other side. So when you have those high highs and the low lows, that sometimes if you take some breaths, take some deep breaths, really remember to hold in a little bit of that energy so that you're not so overwhelming that some people can't even hear you because of how big you've become. That might help in your experiences with other people. It might help in your own experience of that ebb and flow of life, of enthusiasm, overzealousness, and then maybe the emptiness that might come after that. So I, as always, really love this word, overzealous. I love the discussions that I have every week with Molly and with people as they engage with these words. And I hope you enjoyed my conversation this week. And I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Thank you for showing up today.